Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Somebody Should Have Told Me podcast. I am your host, Miss Majesty Dennis, and today I am joined by my special guest, Miss Bria Smith. Clap it up, wherever you're listening from. And this young lady is someone that I take a lot of personal inspiration from. She has finished law school now, and I have been following her since about 2020. She has had an amazing journey. So I first learned of her when, at least to me, it was viral, where she was being widely celebrated online for getting accepted to all of the law schools that she applied to. So if you are listening to this episode, audio only, definitely check us out on YouTube so you can see this beautiful Black woman. This is a Black queen we have here, well accomplished. And I just wanted her to come on and just share her journey, because I have just watched, even through social media, you go through so many ups and downs. And so I just want to dive a little bit deeper into what your journey has been like. So say hello to our audience.
Well, hi everyone, and thank you so much for having me, Majesty. I was really honored when you asked
Absolutely.
me on your podcast and talk about all things law school and my journey, because it has been just that, a journey. Um, so again, my name is Bria Renee Smith. I am 31. I just recently moved to Atlanta from Philadelphia. I went to law school and lived in Philly since 2018, a little bit before law school.
Mm-hmm.
And I switched careers. Before law school, I was an educator.
Okay.
And I started out as a special education teacher in
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn, New York,
Yeah.
22 year
Oh, I didn't know
old.
that.
Yes. So I am from Virginia
Okay.
originally. We can back it
Okay.
out a bit. I'm from Virginia originally, and I am the oldest of six. So
Oh,
my dad was like, I have to figure out a way to pay for all of you all to go to college.
yeah.
So I'm moving to Georgia, and you all are going to get the Hope Scholarship. So the Hope Scholarship allows you to get your tuition paid for if you have higher than a 3.0.
Mm.
So I applied to UGA the day before the deadline to appease him. And then I ended up going to UGA. I was homesick
Okay.
at first, but I ended up loving it. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm back here full circle 10 years later. I graduated
Awesome.
undergrad in 2014, and now it's 2024, and I'm back living in Georgia. It's kind of hilarious because I said I wasn't coming back here. And here I am. But yeah, so I was an educator. After undergrad, I did Teach for America in New York. So
Okay.
I lived there for 2 years and taught seventh grade special education English.
Okay.
And my first experience with like injustice in education was the fact that they put me, an inexperienced 22-year-old, in the classroom with
Mm.
the entire seventh grade. And I was supposed to be their special education teacher, and I had no special education knowledge.
Oh, wow.
And my assistant principal, the first thing she said to me, she was like, "Oh, nobody gets sued over that. You'll be fine. Just like try your best."
Oh,
And I'm like,
no.
that can't be right.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
So I mean, I did learn. I learned all of the ins and outs of special education. I learned special education law, like what I was supposed to be doing from day one.
Mm.
I learned on like day maybe 300. Um, and I realized that, I mean, all of that learning was like self-taught essentially.
Yeah.
Like I was in a master's program for special education, and I wasn't learning the things that were going to help me help students.
Okay.
And I realized that if this is my experience, how many more teachers' experiences are
Mm-hmm.
very similar, and how many kids are going underserved because the teachers don't know how to implement their programs or don't know what needs to be done, and like the law is not being followed. So after that, I moved back to my hometown of
Okay.
Glen Allen, Virginia, and I taught for another year. I taught high school special education World History 1,
Mm-hmm.
and there I met a special education director who really like inspired me to kind of take that path. So I taught there for that 1 year. Then I moved to Philly in 2018, where I became a special education coordinator and then director of a school.
Okay.
And while I was in Teach for America and seeing that injustice, I knew I wanted to go to law school.
Okay.
So I took a course. I took a Kaplan course for the LSAT, took the entire course, paid the money, and then
Yeah.
I didn't sit for the LSAT. That was 2016. Didn't take
Oh,
it. Paid for the test, had a spot, didn't go.
okay.
Did it again in 2017. Did it again in 2018. And in 2019, I finally took the LSAT. Like I paid for the test 3 times and did not take it because I had imposter syndrome. I felt like I wasn't going to be a good lawyer. Like what would make them choose me to be like in this law school? Like you have to be doing something amazing or prestigious to do that. And I'm just regular old me.
Yeah.
But then in 2018, I had vertical sleeve gastrectomy. It's a surgery where they remove 80% of your stomach to kind of help you maintain your weight, lose weight, maintain your weight, and curb your appetite. Because I was 304.6 pounds. I had gotten up to that from just being a teacher, being depressed, eating all the time. It was a very hard job that I saw no solution to the problems that I chose that career field for to help solve.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like a really big change for me. I was like, if I could lose this weight, like this weight is the only problem I have in my life. Like if I could
Wow.
just fix this problem, everything else in my life would be good. And then I fixed that problem and realized that that was certainly not the only problem.
Yeah.
That was just one problem that if I fixed, I could then fix all the other problems. And a problem I had was that I didn't feel like I was doing anything helpful in the education system. And like I knew I wanted to go to law school and I needed to do that. Like while I was comfortable doing all the like where I was comfortable in life when I went to law school, like I had a good job, paid well,
Okay.
summers off, all of that.
Yes.
But I wasn't fulfilled. I knew I wanted to go to law school. So in 2019, I finally took the LSAT. I only took it once, even
Okay.
though that was not advisable. Like I didn't do great.
Okay.
And it wasn't that like so I can't even remember what the scale of, and you probably do because you're in that space now, like what the score scale is, but dead average, like average was 151. I got a 151. Like
Okay.
I got
Okay.
a dead average score. I have the worst test anxiety. I woke up the day of, I couldn't get my nose to stop bleeding. It bled all the way
Oh.
to the test. Like that's just the type of person I am. I'm very like a high strung, anxious person. So
Okay.
it was a rough experience and I didn't want to do it again. I was like, whatever school I can
Whatever.
get into with this score is what it's going
Yeah.
to be because I'm not doing that again.
Yeah. Whoever's gonna
And
take me with this.
yeah, take me as I am.
Yeah.
But yeah, I applied to 5 schools and I got into all 5. And I was like, wow, so this was what I was putting off for all this time. I could have been in this position 1, 2, 3 years before this, but I don't regret any of the way that I progressed because those years of being a teacher and those years of being a special education director made me the law student that I was and like the lawyer that I'm about to be in 2 weeks when work starts. So
Oh my gosh. Okay, so when you went to school, did you have something specific in mind that you wanted to practice? And if so, what was it? And are you doing it now?
yeah, no. So I did have something specific in mind. Am I doing it now? No. So
Okay.
as a special education director, I was basically compiling all the documents when we would have a lawsuit, explaining to the lawyers what I felt like we should be arguing, and basically just doing everything a lawyer should do and not getting paid to be the lawyer.
And
Like,
this was while you were still in education.
so I was
So
irritated.
what were the people suing? The parents, I guess, what
Oh,
were they suing
yeah. So
for?
basically, Pennsylvania is very litigious with regard to special education. And like, I know you probably hear on the radio, like if you've been in an accident, call blah, blah, blah. Like, like that type of stuff, like personal
Yeah.
injury, ambulance chasing. That's kind of the narrative around special education in Philadelphia. Like there are
Oh.
attorneys that go to football games, go to after school programs, and they be like, do you think your child is being underserved? Here, let me see their grades, let me see their this, and I think I can just I can get you money or extra help, and they don't get the parents or anything. They take their cut and leave. Like that's
Wow.
literally the landscape of special education. And I was on the receiving end of that, being a school, working at a charter school that doesn't have the resources to defend itself like a school district.
Okay.
So, and also school districts aren't going anywhere. Charter schools can go under really. Like if they lose enough money from these lawsuits. So they don't want to put those lawsuits in the public eye, so they end up settling. And these lawyers know that the schools will settle. So that just kept happening. Like our school just like there were certain lawyers that would like target our school, target our students when we were doing the best we could to provide an education. In some cases, hey, we weren't. But like, and we got caught red-handed. But other things like that's pretty much the landscape of special education, because Pennsylvania is very litigious with regard to special education. So I was seeing that, and I was like, I can be the change in this space. I could either help schools make their programs more robust because I have all the special education knowledge, and I would then have the legal knowledge once I go to law school. Or I could really help parents, because what happens is that money that they win from the suit goes into a trust, basically like an education trust for the parents to seek more tutoring, seek outside services, counseling, and all of that. But if it's not used, it goes back to the school. So these parents they're not using them. It just stays in trust and then it goes back to the school, but the attorney gets to take their cut and leave and never really like counsels them on how to use their money that they do win from the school. So that was like that was what I really wanted to do, and along the lines of what I wanted to do. But my second year, second semester, I worked as an education consultant and advocate at a law firm, and I hated it. I was glad I got that experience while I was in law school. And it's never the kids. It's never the kids. It's usually the issue is that the parents are in denial of the services that their kids need, or the school is pushing back so hard on providing the services that the child needs. And I was like, this is just me repeating the same cycle again, just in another field. Like the problems that I faced as a special education director, I would face as a special education attorney, from another lens. And I don't want to deal with that. I want to be able to help children in a real way, but also not drive myself crazy. So I am doing executive compensation and employee benefits law at a big law firm in Atlanta, which has nothing to do with special education, but it's like the special education, like what special education is to a school is what executive comp and employee benefits is to the world, essentially. Like, I feel like with special education, you have students, they all have to take these classes, but they all have different needs and they all have different ways you can address those needs and get that done. So it's like you're looking at this individual student, but you're looking at it through all of these different lenses. With executive comp and employee benefits, you have all of these things where you can reach each industry. Like I won't be working with the same industry every time, but I'll be making sure that it's basically, people get it confused with like employment law. It's not so much employment law, it's more tax, of like basically putting together something that is beneficial for the client to have a tax beneficial situation, giving rewards and benefits to their talent, and also recruiting the top talent, like knowing when the market is up and when you can offer certain things and how to be compliant with the tax code, because the code changes every year, every presidency. We have like different changes, as we know. So being compliant with those changes, helping the organization that you're working for be able to provide more benefits to attract more people to work for them and then keep the business going. So I feel like it's pretty similar to special education because it's very niche. You have to know a lot about a little, which I really like. And I'm on the like corporate counsel side of that, not the litigation side of that. So I don't know. I feel like when you're in a litigious situation, it doesn't matter if you win or lose. Your client's always upset. Maybe they're upset they spent too much money, or they they didn't like your strategy. But in a corporate counsel situation, like at the end of a good deal, everybody's going out for drinks. They're having a good meal. Like it's more more communal, a lot more like you get to talk with and enjoy people, and also dig deep into documents, which I'm a nerd. I like to do.
That is so cool. Yeah, I want to practice employment law. And for a long time, I knew that I wanted to be a litigator for sure. Like, put me in the ring, like, that's what I want to do. But, just recently over like well, actually, this last couple times with my job. I have like just had like a renewed sense of clarity that I want to practice employment law. And so now I have relationships with employment attorneys. And so it is unfortunate the circumstances, right, that I even had to hire an attorney. But then the aspiring attorney in me is looking at them like, this is brilliant. Like the pricing structure was like so cool to me. Whoa. Well, I had two of them. One of them I worked with, it she kind of did her thing like personal injury, like it was like she had a starting fee and then takes a percentage of whatever she wins for you. And then the last guy, he was like a full contingency. So I am just amazed by that, just seeing like what they did for me, just being able to have that relationship, for them to help me. I was have not shared this on the podcast yet, and maybe I'll do it in another episode, but I experienced sexual harassment at my last job, something that I probably haven't even seen on a movie, and so it was just otherworldly. But that lawyer got them folks so
Oh,
good.
good.
Like he would at least think twice, you know what I'm saying, before he does anything like that again. um so that is an amazing story, and I know that they're so different. So did you go to night or nighttime school or part-time?
So I was an evening student. First, let me say, like, I'm so sorry that happened to you. I'm
Oh,
so happy
thank
that
you.
you got to experience an attorney that made things right for you, because
Yeah,
there are so many situations that I hear where, like, I've worked for amazing attorneys where I've watched them make like phenomenal change just by doing one thing, and it's like that is what being an attorney is. It's having this
yeah,
specialized knowledge that, like, only you can access, or like very few people can access, and
yeah.
it opens doors for people that they couldn't open for themselves. And I think that, like, you seeing that happen for you is going to, like, just even propel you even further in your law school journey. So
Thank you.
I'm
Yeah, it was so like it was hard to go through it, like stressful at the time. But then when I like started to look at it, I'm like, okay, what if this whole situation has happened to me right in my life as God trying to give me clarity on the direction, you know what I'm saying, that I should go. Um, because it just was so inspiring and so informative. And I would say to anyone who's listening to this podcast, if you ever, first of all, if you care about your career, you need to have a standing relationship with an employment lawyer. Like by the time you need a lawyer, you need to already have the lawyer that you need. Like, because, and even with what had happened to me, I had my lawyer from Texas and I had taken a new job in California. And so when everything kind of came to a head, like the morning of, I was able to like immediately call my Texas lawyer. And she was like, you have more rights finding a California lawyer. But by the time something is going on in the workplace that it's like you're in a state of crisis, you need a standing relationship. You need to be able to email them what to do, next and all that good stuff. So, okay, so back to evening school.
yes.
So, how was that? Like, you're juggling full time work and law school, which is a job in and of itself. How was that
Yeah,
experience?
it was rough. I wouldn't say 0 out of 10, but like certainly wouldn't recommend.
Okay.
But also, I don't see how people go to school and don't work unless you're immediately out of a previous school situation.
Okay.
I think had I gone to law school right out of undergrad, I probably wouldn't. It wouldn't have felt like such a stark difference because you're not
Okay.
working full time and like
Yeah.
you're going to school. going to school full time is something you've just done for the past 4 years. So you
Yeah.
can keep doing that. But I feel like having worked, having had several years of work experience, having real bills, like not like I'm not splitting an
Right.
apartment, like I have a home, like I have
Oh,
bills, I have a life, you become accustomed to a lifestyle that,
yeah.
yeah, you're going to school and doing these things, but you're still like a human and you want to have a life.
Hmm.
As crazy as that sounds, like, yeah, so working all day, school all night. So I started law school in 2020.
Okay.
So I feel like my transition wasn't so abrupt. Like, I really do not know how I would have made it that first year if we weren't in a pandemic. Like,
Okay.
school, my job was online, and school was online.
Gotcha.
So it
Okay.
was literally that I was able to work all day, close one laptop,
Okay.
open another laptop. So
Good.
that made the transition a lot easier because I didn't have the commutes, the going
Yeah.
from place to place, because all of that time I was able to spend reading and doing all the things I
Okay.
needed to do for class to prepare myself to be the best law student I could be. Had I not had that time, I felt stressed with having that time. So had I not had that time, I have no idea how I would have managed to do both.
Hmm.
But like a typical day, my first year would be like waking up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning, reading from 5 to about 8 something, eating breakfast, and then jumping on work at like 8:30.
Okay.
And like I'm special education director, having meetings,
Hmm.
drafting IEPs, talking to parents, talking to students, talking to teachers all day,
Hmm.
wrapping that up around 4 o'clock, eating, maybe running, trying to get a workout in,
Okay.
and then I'm on class from 6 to 10.
Okay. Ooh. I'm
And
not a nighttime person.
yeah, and that was every day. So like it was just
Even on the
every day.
weekends.
Well, on the weekends I would read or do schoolwork all day. Yeah. I
Okay.
would try to give myself like a solid half a day a week to do
Okay.
nothing. Like, so like a Sunday,
Hmm.
like afternoon to the evening.
Hmm.
But other than that, it was every day, and it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
Not even gonna hold you, but it was that first year, and being that regimented set me up for success for the future years, because it's not that school takes that much,
Okay.
it's that learning what it does take takes that much. Like,
Mm.
you don't
Say
know,
that again.
like learning what law school takes that much work. Like, you have to
Hmm.
put in that effort at the outset to know what works for you. Like, everybody, when
Yeah.
you get to law school, everybody's going to tell you, oh, you just have to do what works for you.
Hmm.
You don't know what that is. Like, you
Mm.
can't study the same as you did in undergrad. Things are
Yes.
not gonna, like, if you were just extremely smart and brilliant and things come to you by osmosis, that's simply not how this is going to work.
Yeah.
Or at least that's not how it worked for me. So I had to figure out what worked for me. And I wasn't that far out of school. This was my fourth degree. Like,
Yeah.
I know how to do this school stuff, and I was a teacher.
Yeah.
But figuring out what worked for me took that much work. But then by the
Got
second
it.
year, you know what works for you.
Okay.
So all of that time spent, that investment at the outset, is very different year two. Like, I didn't have to spend that much time, and my schedule wasn't that strenuous. So,
Okay. I
but
love that. Okay. So with being part-time, that took you 4 years to finish.
yep.
Okay. So within that 4 years, what were some things, the parts of law school that maybe took you by surprise? Because it sounds like you went in kind of with an aim for education and you've decided to pivot a little bit. So what were some of the experiences that you had during law school that was like, oh, I kind of like this? Or was there any winding road that you just anything that you went into it that you weren't expecting that you were like, I can keep up with this?
Yeah, everything. I love law school. Like, law school was the greatest intellectual experience. Like, I really enjoyed
Mm,
law school. Now, the politics of law school, some of the people, not so much. Some of
mm-hmm,
the like administrative systems, not so much. But like the act of like all of the learning and all of the like experiential learning, like everything that I got to do and experience as a law student, phenomenal. Like,
okay.
I went in my first semester. Being an evening student, you take 11 credits a semester, over the course of 8 semesters, 88 credits is a full load, and then you take 15 during a day. So my first 3 classes were contracts, civil procedure, and legal research and writing. I'm like, I was an English teacher. I'm going to do well in legal research and writing.
Okay.
I don't know how I'm going to do in civil procedure. I don't even know what that is. And I feel like contracts would fall somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
That was completely the opposite. I did the best in civil procedure. Like, I got distinguished class performance in civil procedure, did the worst in contracts, and then legal research and writing fell in the middle.
Okay.
And it was like, you just learn things. Like, you think things I mean, obviously I didn't even know what the topic of civil procedure was. Like, I didn't know that, like, how this is how cases get into court, and like, basically you're fighting over money. What cases will be heard? How is that whole procedure done? Like, I didn't realize that was something that I would be interested in. And contracts, like, I understand the fundamental principles of contracts, but also you have to realize you're not just taking the class, you're taking the professor. And you have to learn how to navigate these people just as much as you need to learn how to navigate the subject matter. And legal research and writing is like a different monster altogether.
Let me ask you something about that, because I've heard that, like, when you turn in your assignments, they give you like some kind of anonymous number or something so that it doesn't correlate. Was that your experience? And if so, what do you mean by you're taking the professor? If like your assignments are turned in anonymously, is there some way that your interactions are like held against you when you're turning in your work, or what does that entail?
Yeah, no, I mean, you can't have like a personal, like, nobody can have a personal vendetta against you. That's the whole reason for anonymous grading. So most law schools grade anonymously. Like, you're given an exam number, you take the exam, and then you basically, that professor only gets your exam numbers, and then the administration at the school correlates your exam number with your grade, and then your grades come out. But when I say you're taking the professor, this is a person who has, they say A students become like professors, B students go into like judgeships and stuff, and then C students become great lawyers. Like, that's like kind of like the running joke of like the legal profession. But these people who become professors, most of them haven't practiced law in forever, unless they are like an adjunct or someone who does actually practice law. They've been doing this over and over and over and over and over their whole career, and they're about to retire. Every single year, they make people pay for this $300 book. They come say the same thing over and over and over again. They sometimes even, the questions are the exact same that they give you on the exam they've given to past students, or with different just different names in the fact patterns and the hypotheticals. But these people have this ingrained system in their minds of what they want you to get out of what they're saying. So you might understand the law, and you might understand like the way you formulate your answer may not be what they were looking to see. You have to give people what they're looking to see. And that's the same, like, knowing that is like what's going to make you a good lawyer, because that's what you're doing in every situation. If you're in a corporate setting, you need to be able to take the information and present it to your client the way they want, so that they do the thing you need them to do to get that money, or make that deal, make that merger, whatever. If you are a litigator and you're trying to persuade the jury, you need to put it before them in a way that they can receive it. Like, maybe that's in layman's terms, different things like that. Like, if you have a ton of medical records and you're trying to get them to see this point, you don't want to sit up there and say all the medical terminology that they're not going to understand. Like, you have to put it to them how they're going to understand it. Same thing with these professors. They're people first. So if they read something and maybe it's right, but it's not the way they would have said it, that could be the difference between an A and an A minus. Like, and that is what I learned my first year. I got a B plus in contracts, and which is not bad, but it could have been better. Had I written things the way he wanted them written, because they weren't wrong. He was like, well, and that's why there's anonymous grading, because everything's so subjective.
So You're saying that like you went and talked to him or
Oh,
to these.
yes. You do exam reviews after every exam. After every
Okay.
exam, they give you an opportunity to talk to them, and then it becomes like not anonymous anymore. You're like, here's my
Okay.
exam number. They're like, here's the grade I gave you. And they go back to their notes and they tell you kind of like walk you through where you could have gone better. And it's really good to do that because then you know how to attack your next round of exams and you only get
Okay.
better by getting that feedback.
That's good to know. And you get a new exam number every time.
Every semester.
Okay. Gotcha. I'm
Well,
writing
that's how
that
it looked at Temple. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure that's how it works other places, but yeah, that's pretty much how like anonymous grading works. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. So you talked a little bit about your imposter syndrome. So you're 31 now, yes? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So my birthday's next month.
Oh, happy early
Um,
birthday.
Thank you. So, one of the things I love that you said is that you enjoyed law school, and that is important for me. I know I hear all these horror stories, right, about how bad it is, but one of the things that I am preparing my mind for as I, intentionally move towards this process is that I want to be sure to enjoy my journey. When I was going to undergrad, I had a lot of uncertainty and kind of let the circumstances of life take away, right? Just the fun of being in college. So I'm like, if law school is going to be my redo, I really want to make sure that I'm optimistic and enjoy the journey of getting to my dreams. And I think for me, even with all the resistance that I have met in trying to move forward into the process, um, that I'm having deja vu right now. Side note, I have deja vu, like this is the moment where I feel like I've been here before, but I also have the pre moment. So I remember remembering this moment. It's like the double whammy. Anyways, that kind of threw me for a loop. Okay, so what was I saying? Um,
You're talking about being
yes,
intentional about enjoying your law school journey.
yeah, I want to make sure that I enjoy the journey of making my dreams happen because I've met so much resistance in leading up to it that by the time I get to law school, like being in law school will be a blessing and a miracle in and of itself. um so talk to me about some of your, how were you able to just make life pause or stop to be like, I'm going to stop life in full swing. Like you have real bills, you're grown now to be like, I'm going to stop this and I'm going to go back to school. What was that moment or how was any of that process for
Oh, I
you?
didn't. I went to work. I still went to work. Life was still in full swing.
I love
Nothing
that.
stopped. I still had to work. Like I still had bills. So
Okay.
I bought my house in 2019.
Okay.
June of 2019. I
Hmm.
moved to Philly in July of 2018.
Okay.
And then I bought my house June of 2019, and I took the LSAT November of 2019. So
Okay.
when I bought my house, I bought a 6 bedroom, three bathroom house in West Philly. It was right around the corner from the school that I was working at. I knew
Okay.
I wanted to house hack, which is, for your audience, essentially renting out rooms in your home, like,
Yeah.
and basically covering all of the bills.
Hmm.
Um, so I knew that, like, I was already doing that before school started, but the pandemic happened, and I was blessed to have tenants that still paid all their bills, even with the
Hmm.
moratorium and everything. So I knew that I was going to law school the next year because I had taken the LSAT. I was applying places, and I didn't really have any bills because all of my bills were being taken care of by my house hack.
Okay.
And I would pay myself like I had bills to pay so that if
Hmm.
it did ever come to a situation where I was unable to work because it got too difficult,
Yeah.
I would still be living in my house. I basically regimented out my salary to myself to know, like, this is how long I can survive if I stop working,
Right.
basically. And it happened. Like I stopped working. So
Oh,
my
really?
first year, yeah, because I really wanted to be editor in chief of Law Review, and I knew I wanted to be published.
Okay.
So and then there was a lot of transition at my job with the pandemic and everything. We had a new CEO, two new principals.
Okay.
And I found myself, after having worked there for 3 years, being the most senior person on the staff somehow.
Mm.
And they're coming to me for everything. And I was
Everything.
like, I can't be
Uh-huh.
the principal here.
Yeah.
One, you're not paying me to.
Yeah.
Two, I'm doing this law school stuff full time. Like, I'm here to be a special education director, not teach y'all how to do y'all's stuff too. But
Correct.
so I ended up leaving. So my first year, I worked the whole year. The second year, um, I knew I wanted to be published. I had written onto Law Review that summer, and I dedicated my whole fall semester to writing my comment. I wrote my comment like it was a full time job.
Okay.
And I can send you the link to my comment if you all want to read it.
Yes.
But I did end up getting it published, and then that second semester I went back to work. So I didn't work for a semester, and that was like very much scary for me because like I have not worked since I
Yes.
started working. Like,
Right.
I've
Mm-hmm.
been a full blown adult, taking care of myself, doing all of my things,
Mm-hmm.
and now I'm just not working. Like, and I'm just living off of savings and a prayer. But I mean, it wasn't so bad. I had tenants. Everything was going well.
Mm-hmm.
And then my third year, I became editor in chief of Law Review. Only I was the fourth evening student, second Black person to ever attain this role, and it
Mm-hmm.
was volume 95. So there's 95 people in
Congratulations.
this camp, and I'm one of them. So they, like, no other editor in chief had worked before, and they had told my mentor, who was previously the editor in chief
Mm-hmm.
of two volumes before me, that if she wanted the role, she couldn't work, and she was a teacher at the time. So nobody told me I couldn't work, but I
Okay.
wanted to do great at the job, so I didn't work that third year, and that's the year
Okay.
my house burned down.
Oh.
So it was a lot going on, but God provides. Like, everything went great.
Okay.
Honestly, everything that happened during that year, like, was God working for my good, even when I couldn't see it. Like, I had a brand new renovated house in 2019, but then it got renovated again on
Oh.
like it was just good. Like, everything worked out. I was able to support my life and my lifestyle and my without like having a livelihood and without having tenants, because I couldn't have tenants the whole year that my house was getting fixed.
It took a
Uh,
year for your house to get fixed?
yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like
So
10
okay, wait,
months.
how did the house catch on fire again? What
Girl.
happened to it?
So I'm connected on one side. So it's a row home, and I'm connected on one
Okay.
side. And the one side that I was connected on, they had an electrical fire,
Mm-hmm.
and it traveled. Like, my house didn't burn,
Mm-hmm.
but it charred the whole front porch. They had to rip out my front porch. They thought the fire was gonna. It was all wood, so they thought the fire was going to like come over to my house, and
Yeah.
then putting out their fire. Like, they pump gallons of water into the house. So, like, their basement, all the water had to go somewhere. It flooded my whole basement.
Whew.
Um, and then, because of their, like, all of the smoke overtook my house, like, all of the insulation was black in my house. So basically,
Oh.
the whole house had to be gutted and then put back together. And that happened in November of 22, and I moved back into my house August of 23.
Oh my
So,
gosh. I am so sorry that you went through that. But
okay.
one thing I love about your story is you kept going through all of these things. Excuse me. You never let it stop you. And that is like one thing that I have admired about following you. So when you bought this home, was it your original intention to house hack? Start for everyone that is listening, something is going on with my throat. Okay, just pray my strength in the Lord. I'm trying to make it. But anyways, so pardon my little coughs. When you bought the home, did you originally intend to house hack? Did you know, let me get this house so I could go back to school? What was your mindset then?
My mindset was to house hack. It wasn't to go back to law school, but
Okay.
like, I thought I could, like, I knew I could be a special education director and live around the corner from Boys Latin, the school that
Okay.
I worked at forever. Like, that could have been my life. But then very, very soon after that, I feel like I moved in June. I had all my rooms filled by August.
Mm.
And then I did a board prep program. So essentially, like, there was a group called Young Involved Philadelphia, and they have a board prep thing, which is about 8 weeks long. You go each week and you learn about being a board member and sitting on different boards and being able to help in the community
Oh,
and stuff
wow.
like that. And a lot of the people in board prep were lawyers, finance people. They were people who could actually do something being on the board. Like
Yeah.
they had a skill that was necessary for board service.
Okay.
And like I have skills, but I'm a special education director. Like what skills do I have other than
Hmm.
to serve on a board that is about special education or kids or child welfare or something like that? Um, so that like kind of reignited my like, okay, I need to start studying for the LSAT because I see where I can make an impact. Like I knew I wanted to be a lawyer. I put that off because I was just too scared, not because of anything like really holding me back but myself. And I had done all of the other things that I had wanted to do to that point, and I was like, okay, now's the time. So it wasn't simultaneous with buying the house. It was kind of like maybe like September, October. But I had
Okay.
started studying for the LSAT again the January of 2019, and I went to a few open houses like in like towards schools and stuff, and then I just put it off again and just like the cycle. You're just like, oh, okay, I'll do it
Yeah.
later, and it's like no, later is now. Let's get it done.
Later is now. I love that. Okay. So when you mentioned you had your VSG, was that did you feel like that was a turning point for you as far as you like reclaiming your life and wanting to go for more of your dreams? Because it also sounds like be becoming a lawyer was kind of something that you started to think about more into your adult years, huh? After you had done your education thing, yes?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I was already in like Teacher America and all of that before I decided
Okay.
like I wanted to become a lawyer. Getting VSG was the catalyst for everything. Like I
Mm.
was like fed up with being overweight, fed up with
Mhm.
trying all these different diets and failing, and not being comfortable in my own skin and happy. And I'm like, okay, if I could just change this one thing, I would be happy. But
Yeah.
now that was the 24-year-old me. I was 24 when I got VSG, which is
Wow.
crazy because it was like, feels like just yesterday. But that was my 24-year-old mindset. And now at 31, I'm a little weary that I'll probably never be satisfied, but that's for another day.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's definitely the catalyst for all of the big decisions I've ever made in my life. Cause that was really hard. Like
Yeah.
I went and got VSG in Mexico. Like my insurance, it was like excluded in my insurance. It was going to be
Mm.
$26,000 here in America,
Ooh.
and it was like $6,000 in Mexico.
Yeah.
And I went on to Tijuana and got 80% of my stomach cut out, and
Absolutely. Yes.
everybody was like, "You're crazy. You're gonna die." And I was like, "Well, if I die, I will have died trying to make my life better. Living this miserable life is
Mhm.
dying to me. So." We could die trying to fix it, or we could just keep dying, like
Wow. You were not playing any games.
at
I
all,
love that.
at all.
Okay. So normally I like to ask this question, but as I'm hearing you talk, I want to ask you two questions. What is one thing somebody that you would say to your listeners, tell to our listeners, that you wish someone that you wish you, that
You got it, girl.
thank you. What is one thing that you would say to our listeners that you feel like someone should have told you in the sense of something you wish they knew, right? But then my second question is, what would you say to yourself looking back on your legal journey at any point that you could say to Bria in 2017, 18, 19, any of that? And that's why I say it's two questions, because you have something that's like, hey, everyone else out there, I want you to know this. But what is something that you could tell yourself in hindsight?
Yeah, I'd say to everyone listening, everything, like anything that you put your mind to is attainable. Like
Mm-hmm.
it really is. Nobody is like that brilliant that it's just like I just can't do that. Only that person can do that. And I feel
Yeah.
like that mindset like took me over for so long. Like, oh, of course I'll never be a lawyer.
Mm.
Like this is just not attainable. And it's like most things are attainable with hard work. Like just
Yeah.
do the work and you can do it. Like you're going to never things are not going to be perfect. You're going to face adversity
Mm-hmm.
in the craziest of ways. Like my dog got stolen the first night of the bar exam. Like the whole
Oh
second day,
yeah.
yeah, the whole second day of the bar exam. Like my dog was missing.
Yeah.
Like things are gonna happen that is just like there's gonna be no explanation for it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just keep pushing through,
Mm-hmm.
you will prevail. Like it's kind of like I look at people who want to like be athletes, and this is
Mm-hmm.
not a shot to anybody who wants to go to the NFL or go to
Mm-hmm.
the NBA, but like people will literally spend their whole lives like from childhood all through high school trying to get a scholarship to go to college on a football scholarship or a basketball scholarship and then trying to get to the league. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, do you know how few people get to the league, even those that are trained and all of that, and then how short of a time you stay there? But do you
Yeah.
know how many people that like train to become a lawyer or train to become a doctor or
Mm-hmm.
engineer or whatever? It's like a clear path. Like you to do the
Yeah.
thing and the outcome is there. Like there are so many people that put their eggs in the basket of something that's uncertain. I feel like this is such a more certain basket, but you think about it like the
Mm-hmm.
NBA or the NFL. Like
Yeah.
that was my mindset at first. And it's like it's just not. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you go to law school and you take every credit, you will eventually get a law degree.
Yeah.
And then if you study for the bar exam, hopefully you will eventually pass. Hopefully I
Mm-hmm.
pass. We'll see. But and then that's that. Like it's all of it is attainable. Like there are
Yeah.
some things that are like, okay, that's a toss up. This is not one of them. And
Okay.
go about it like that and you will time invested like will yield the outcome. It's
Yeah.
like 100%.
I love that. That is beautiful. Absolutely.
And to
Um,
myself,
yes.
I would live with that mindset rather than like I am a very anxious person, very worried person. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
I don't let my previous like successes give me any indication of like the next one. Like if I did something well, I'm not like, okay, obviously I did this thing well. Like this next thing is going to go well. Like it's going to be fine. I do not think like that. Like I could give that advice to somebody else wholeheartedly, but internally I'm like, this is the time where the other shoe is going to drop. This is where they're all going to realize that I'm a fraud. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
dumb. Like I'm not as smart as people think I am. Like I'm going to fail at this. And that is those are the stories that I tell myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I would tell myself to not stay in that too long. Like just
It's good.
stop thinking like that because it's unproductive and it all works out in the end.
Absolutely. I love that. That it all works out in the end. Speaking of the end, so now you've already taken the bar,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you're now awaiting results, yes?
Yeah.
When do your results come?
Sometime in October.
Oh, that wait for that long has to be like no joke. Oh my goodness. So how do you feel like you did?
I have no idea.
I hope you guys are watching the visual because the look on her face is
I have
hilarious.
no idea. I mean most people don't know how they did. Like most people feel like they did poorly from
Mm-hmm.
what I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm.
But my head was like my dog was stolen the whole second day. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm over here literally like wanting to just leave and go back to Philly and find my dog. Like I
Mm-hmm.
left my dog in incapable hands, obviously. Like he's 9 years old. I travel a lot. He's
Okay.
a Velcro dog. Like he will literally he's like 2 inches from me right now. But
Yeah.
like she left him outside. I guess he was crying. Somebody stole him. I had to pay ransom to get him back. It was a whole
Oh,
situation. Um,
ransom.
and yeah, like it was a whole situation and it's nothing that I could have prepared for. I prepared extremely diligently for the bar. Like I
Right.
studied like it was my full-time job. I prioritize my mental health. I ran every day.
Mm-hmm.
I was on my routines. I was on my schedules. I was taking the practice questions, doing all the things. Nothing could have prepared me for the 2 days that was the bar exam. Nothing. Nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
Even without Hercules being missing, them questions had hands. Like nothing could have prepared me for that. And
Mhm.
this whole process is the ultimate haze. I really do hope that I passed. But we'll see. I mean, I am moving with faith
Yeah,
because that's all I can do. And there's nothing that I
absolutely.
can do right now. Like, there's nothing I can go back and change or do anything differently. I tried my best. I studied as hard as I could, and I'm just putting faith in God in my preparation, and we'll see what happened. I mean, but like
Absolutely.
I said, it all works out in the end. If this is not the
Yes.
end, if I have to take it again, it will work
Hmm.
out. I didn't do
Hmm.
all this for nothing. I will be a lawyer one day. Well, hopefully that day will be in October, though. But we'll see.
Oh, that is hilarious. I have faith that you will do well or have done well and it's all going to work out.
Thank you.
Um, I am just so inspired. So I didn't do my intro right, but this podcast, we talk about our convictions, our career, and our coins. So um, just just such a beautiful and realistic journey that I wanted people to hear. Just you being unstoppable, like
Thank you.
even when life is lifing, and you have done your best and you've been diligent, not letting anything hold you back. So, just know for myself, and I'm sure many others that will now hear, your story and your journey, that it is an inspiration to many. You may just be going on doing your own thing, but it inspires people beyond yourself. And I am just so proud of you.
Thank you so much.
Even just watching from afar, you doing your real estate mogul thing, um, and just being,
Trying my best, girl.
yes, just being this awesome lawyer runner who is taking your life back. And I hope for those that are listening, know it's not too late to kind of just, sometimes I think it's important not to let adulthood escape you, right? And just like let life just run off the train tracks. And I feel like from your wellness journey to you taking, doing your running thing, and to law school, you continually say, no, I'm going to redirect this. And this is what life is going to look like for me. And I'm hoping that everyone who is listening to this, whether or not you're an aspiring attorney, that is what you take from listening to Bria's story, that you don't let your dreams pass you by. She is saying the house burned down, that all of these things happened. The bills did not stop coming. The pandemic happened, just stuff wildly beyond her control, but she stayed resilient and got it done. So I'm hoping that you all take some inspiration. Please tell the people where they can find you, how they can continue to follow your journey, so we can see the amazing I passed the bar photo shoots and all these things.
We're gonna pray. Like it's not
Yes.
giving.
I think it will.
uh,
I think you'll be surprised. I have high hopes for you.
well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for having me.
You're most
Thank you all
welcome.
so much for listening. If you've made it this far, again, my name is Bria Renee Smith, and that's where you can find me on everything: TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. Just my name, Bria Renee Smith. And yeah,
Awesome. Thank you all for listening. This has been another episode of the Somebody Should Have Told Me podcast, where we talk about our convictions, our career, and our coins. Make sure that you are following this podcast wherever you're listening to us, on YouTube, Instagram, and all the things. And until next time, bye bye.